If you're a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility and your machinery isn't working right, Grainger knows you need to understand what's wrong as soon as possible. So when a conveyor motor falters, Grainger offers diagnostic tools like calibration kits and multimeters to help you identify and fix the problem. With Grainger, you can be confident you have everything you need to keep your facility running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
And away we go, episode 1204 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Friday, November 21st, 2025. There are multiple benefits to the Washington Commanders being in the midst of their Week 12 bye week in the NFL's 2025 regular season, in which they are 3-8. A, the team can't lose in this Week 12. B, we on the podcast have room for discussion in a way unlike when there is an actual game coming up. And so coming up on this installment of the podcast, next segment, in fact, is a special guest, Steven Ruiz, who is an NFL analyst and quarterback ranker for The Ringer. Some of the best writing about the NFL right now is happening on The Ringer. Steven's a big part of that. And we, with Steven, are going to have a conversation that I've been waiting to have on this podcast. Jayden Daniels versus Drake Maye. Yes, we are going there. The Commanders with the number 2 overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft to quarterback Jayden Daniels out of LSU. The New England Patriots with the number 3 overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft to quarterback Drake Maye out of North Carolina. The 2024 NFL Draft was perceived to be loaded at quarterback, but as things stand right now, the only quarterback with the Commanders passed on in that draft, who you could reasonably argue should have been taken instead of Daniels, is Maye. Jayden Daniels versus Drake Maye. Where are we at? What do we think? Steven Ruiz is great at talking NFL quarterbacks from both an analytics perspective and an X's and O's perspective. He recently conducted a redraft of the quarterbacks in the 2024 NFL Draft. He's going to spend some time with us talking Jayden Daniels versus Drake Maye and a lot more. Hello and welcome to this Friday installment of the Al Galdi podcast. By the way, the Commanders on Thursday morning announced having signed receiver Jacoby Jones to the practice squad and having released safety Daryl Worley from the practice squad. The Commanders on Tuesday afternoon announced having released Jones. So this as the corresponding roster moved to signing kicker Jake Moody off the Chicago Bears practice squad. Also on the show, college football, GaldiLocks for the FBS teams of the Mid-Atlantic region for Week 13 of the 2025 season, and thoughts on similar situations for Maryland and Virginia Tech, and on the opportunity for James Madison to be ranked in the college football playoff rankings. And on the show, we'll discuss our Washington Capitals. They on Thursday night won the Montreal Canadiens 8-4 as Caps top-line right wing Alex Ovechkin registered the 33rd regular season hat trick of his NHL career and had a primary assist, a 4-point performance for Ovechkin in this his age 40 season. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Email from Andy, who has put together a theme song for Operation Loseout 2.0. Yes, a theme song. On Monday's show, a milestone show, episode 1200, launched Operation Loseout 2.0. We on this podcast during the Commanders' 2023 season did the original Operation Loseout. We on this podcast during this Commanders season now are doing Operation Loseout 2.0. Operation Loseout consists of rooting for Commanders players, especially young Commanders players, to play well, but for the team to lose so as to maximize positioning in the 2026 NFL Draft, in which our team is tracking toward having a top 10, maybe even top 5 pick. This is a lost season. The Commanders getting to at least 10 wins in this regular season, seemingly a must for making the playoffs, is no longer possible, and yet the team has 6 games left in this regular season. I hate what the season has become, but there's no denying what the season has become, and so let's embrace it, put it to work for us, and have it do some good. Writes Andy, Al, I created a theme song for your Operation Loseout 2.0, royalty-free. Use if you like. Love the show. Loyal listener from the beginning. Thank you very much, Andy. Let us listen to his theme song for Operation Loseout 2.0.
Operation Lose Out. Yeah, we're running it back. Did it once for JD5. Now we're back on track. Every Sunday feels like deja vu. Dropping L's on purpose. What else we gonna do? Take the snap, take the fall. Let the future make the call. Stack the picks, trust the route. It's version 2.0. Time to lose out.
I tell you what, that is good. That is very good. I think that we just may have something here. I'm amazed at the momentum that Operation Loseout 2.0 already has garnered. I have gotten a ton of feedback regarding Operation Loseout 2.0, and we now have a theme song for Operation Loseout 2.0. I especially like the opening lines of the song.
Operation Lose Out. Yeah, we're running it back. Did it once for JD5. Now we're back on track.
Yeah, very nice. Well done, Andy. More feedback on Operation Loseout 2.0. Soundbite suggestions. You see, I'm getting production contributions for Operation Loseout 2.0. First a song, now soundbite suggestions. Email from Murph. Writes Murph, hey Al, how about using the soundbite of Marcus Mariota saying, I don't think we are who we think we are, as part of the reasoning for losing out? He's right. They aren't who they think they are. Always listening. Thank you for the email, Murph. Quarterback Marcus Mariota during his post-game press conference off the 44-22 loss to the Detroit Lions at Northwest Stadium on November 9th. Quote, I don't think we are who we think we are. End quote. Quite the quote.
At the end of the day, in order to get things going in the right direction, you have to be transparent, you have to be honest. And I don't think we are who we think we are.
Yeah, there you go. Email from Kyle Goins. Writes Kyle, Al, out of all of the sound clips that I've heard on your show, I'm surprised I haven't yet heard Rob Schneider's, oh no, we suck again. While I wholeheartedly support Operation Loseout 2.0, can we maybe have Operation Lose a Lot? Is there a mathematical possibility we can win our 2 divisional home games and still secure a top 5 draft pick? As always, thanks for all of your hard work. Keep it up, Al. Thank you very much, Kyle. I have used that soundbite before, just not recently. Rob Schneider in the movie Waterboy.
Oh no! We suck again!
Yeah, unfortunately, that is true for our Commanders. So Operation Loseout 2.0 can be taken as literally as you want. If you want the Commanders to lose most of their 6 remaining games in this regular season, but not all of them, I understand. It is the spirit of Operation Loseout 2.0 that matters. Embracing the team being bad and accepting the good that could come from the team being bad. A top 10, maybe even top 5 pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. Hey, if you happen to be listening to this podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you can write a review of the podcast saying that you like it. The review can be just a sentence or 2, but the reviews help out the podcast a lot. Thank you for doing them. Talkspace is the #1 rated online therapy, bringing you professional support from licensed therapists and psychiatrists who you can access anytime, anywhere. Talkspace makes getting the help that you need easy, accessible, and affordable. One of my favorite things about Talkspace is that affordability. Talkspace therapy and psychiatry are covered by most insurers, and most insured members pay a copay of $0. Also, Talkspace is affordable even out of pocket. Therapy, of course, can be costly, but part of the mission of Talkspace is to provide quality care that is accessible and affordable, whether you are insured or not. And here's a special offer for listeners of the Al Galdi podcast. You get $80 off your first month of Talkspace when you go to Talkspace.com/podcast and enter the promo code SPACE80, that's SPACE80, to match with a licensed therapist today. Go to Talkspace.com/podcast and enter that promo code SPACE80.
If you're a custodial supervisor at a local high school, you know that cleanliness is key. and that the best place to get cleaning supplies is from Grainger. Grainger helps you stay fully stocked on the products you trust, from paper towels and disinfectants to floor scrubbers. Plus, you can rely on Grainger for easy reordering, so you never run out of what you need. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
All right, it is time to do something that I've been wanting to do but have been holding off on doing, and that is having the Jayden Daniels versus Drake Maye conversation. The Washington Commanders, as a quarterback-needy team with the number 2 overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, which was perceived to be great at quarterback, had a monumental decision to make. They, of course, took Jayden Daniels with that number 2 overall pick. He had an all-time great rookie season. He's having an injury-plagued second season. As many of you know, I wanted the Commanders to take Drake Maye. I like Jayden Daniels a lot. I just preferred Maye. It's like asking me which television show do I like more, Breaking Bad or The Sopranos. Well, I love both shows, but if you're forcing me to choose, I'd choose Breaking Bad. So I wanted the Commanders to take Drake Maye. They did not, but I, of course, was thrilled with what Jayden Daniels did last season, during which Drake Maye had an underwhelming rookie season. However, Drake Maye this season is blowing up. He is a legitimate candidate for Associated Press NFL MVP for the 2025 regular season. So what are we to say now? Well, I say two things. Number one, it is entirely possible, if not probable, that both Jayden Daniels and Drake Maye are going to end up being outstanding NFL quarterbacks if they aren't already. This is not some zero-sum scenario. Number two, we have a long way to go until we can speak with certainty on the quarterbacks taken in the 2024 NFL Draft. This is a big part of why I have not done this conversation until now. You got to let things breathe. You got to let careers happen before you go nuts on declaring anything about Jayden Daniels, Drake Maye, or any of these other quarterbacks. What happened in the 2024 NFL Draft was unprecedented. 6 of the first 12 picks in the 2024 NFL Draft were quarterbacks. The NFL's common draft era began in 1967. Prior to 2024, there had never been an NFL draft in which 4 of the first 8 picks were quarterbacks, or 5 of the first 10 picks were quarterbacks, or 6 of the first 12 picks were quarterbacks, but all of that happened in the first round of the 2024 NFL Draft. The Chicago Bears took Caleb Williams at 1. The Washington Commanders took Jayden Daniels at 2. The New England Patriots took Drake Maye at 3. The Atlanta Falcons took Michael Penix Jr. at 8. The Minnesota Vikings took J.J. McCarthy at 10. And the Denver Broncos took Bo Nix at 12. It is a pleasure to welcome to the Al Galdi podcast for the first time Steven Ruiz. He has been an NFL analyst and quarterback ranker for The Ringer since 2021. You can follow Steven on X at the Steven Ruiz. And Steven is a local. He grew up in the Washington, D.C. area. He, like me, went to the University of Maryland, and he currently lives in D.C. Now, he is not a Commanders fan. He's actually a Carolina Panthers fan, but we say hello to Steven. Hey, Steven, how are you?
Thanks for having me. I'm happy you led off with that. It's something that I usually lead off with, and I have to lead off with. But I'm a Panthers fan, so I don't get to brag about not being we have it way worse right now. At least you guys have a quarterback.
Can you explain how it is that you're from this area, went to college in this area, and live in this area, and yet are not a fan of the Commanders?
Yeah, I support every other team in the district. I go to Wizards games. I'm not a huge hockey guy, but I would go to a Capitals game, Nationals game. But everyone in my family, they were football obsessed, and I'm just a dissenter. If you've read my work, you realize that I'm a contrarian by nature. So they didn't really care about the other sports. So I didn't feel like I was dissenting by liking the Wizards. But with them, I felt like it was me against the household by liking the Panthers.
Well, you certainly are not the only person who grew up in the D.C. area over the last few decades who is not a Commanders fan. The era of the team being owned by Dan Snyder did a good bit of damage to the fan base. Things now are better, but the Commanders are having a terrible season, due largely to horrendous injury luck that has included Jayden Daniels playing in just 6 of the team's 11 games in this regular season, as he has suffered 3 different injuries. So You for The Ringer wrote a piece that came out on October 15th. Headline, quote, "The 2024 quarterback class redraft," end quote. You going into the 2024 NFL draft had the top quarterbacks as follows. 1, Caleb Williams. 2, Drake Maye. 3, Jayden Daniels. 4, Spencer Rattler. 5, J.J. McCarthy. 6, Michael Penix Jr. 7, Bo Nix. You in this 2024 quarterback class redraft have the top quarterbacks as follows. 1, Drake Maye. 2, Jayden Daniels. 3, Caleb Williams. 4, Spencer Rattler. 5, Bo Nix. 6, Michael Penix Jr. 7, J.J. McCarthy. Now, this piece came out more than a month ago. Just to be certain, is this still your redraft of the quarterbacks in the 2024 NFL draft?
I would say it's the same. I think maybe Rattler has fallen off just because the Saints seemed to give up on him. They did use a second-round pick on Tyler Shuck, so that wasn't very surprising. I still think he's better than those guys I listed him ahead of. But in terms of the top three, which I think are the three that are without a doubt going to be long-term starters in the league. I think Bo Nix is almost there, but that's more team dependent. But I would keep it the same. I would still have it May, Caleb. Those two are a little closer, and I think there's a little bit of a wider gap between Caleb and Jayden and Caleb. But I had trouble with that ranking. With the Caleb and Jayden thing, I had trouble with. I had went back and forth with my editor about what the purpose of a redraft was, because I wanted to have Caleb there first, but I ended up swapping them. But for me, it really just comes down to questions about their ceilings and their floors. And I think with Jayden, that's a fascinating question. I think he's one of the more fascinating prospects that we've had enter the league over the last couple of years. And I think it should make us relitigate what we feel like is the type of prospect that is a pro-ready prospect and what type of prospect is not pro-ready in the modern NFL.
You have Jayden Daniels as QB2 in the redraft of the quarterbacks in the 2024 NFL draft. So you have it as the Commanders still taking him with that number 2 overall pick. You wrote about Daniels, quote, "Daniels is a special football player. I'm just not sure that he's a special passer," end quote. What did you mean by that?
I'm talking about arm talent specifically. I think the thing that stands out with Jayden, especially stood out during his rookie year, I think this year it was a little disjointed before the injury, was the accuracy. Like under 10 yards, he was putting it right on the money, wherever it had to be, whether it was like outside the frame of the receiver or whether it was like right on the chest of him. He could do it in an instant last year. And I think we saw that kind of trickle off this year. It was a little more inconsistent, but my issue, even going back to last year when Daniels was fantastic throughout his rookie year, was the intermediate throws, when you had to layer it, when you have to fit it in a tight window. I think that's where you saw the difference between his arm strength, which I would say is good, but not great, not generational. And then the arm strength of a guy like Caleb Williams, you could just throw lasers all over the field. It's such a tricky question when you're talking about like throwing ability, because there's so many factors with it. Like a guy like Drew Brees at the end of his career was not a great thrower. No one was like, oh my God, look at Drew Brees' arms. But you compare him to a guy like Jamarcus Russell, who had one of the greatest arms of all time. And Drew Brees, as a 40-year-old, was a better thrower than Jamarcus Russell was in his prime. And I think that's the case with Jayden. I don't think I'm necessarily saying anything bad about him. I just don't think we've seen him be that guy that can make them 99 percentile throws yet. And I think we have seen that from Drake and Caleb. That doesn't mean he's going to be better long-term, although I do tend to like quarterbacks with that arm strength. So I would prefer Caleb a little bit over Jayden.
You mentioned the nature of Jayden Daniels' 2025 season. We'll see if it's done. I hope like heck that it isn't. But he has had this strange, uneven season. A, due to playing in just 6 of the Commanders' 11 regular season games due to 3 different injuries. B, due to his receiving core having been ravaged by injury. How did you go about evaluating Daniels' 2025 season given its disjointed nature?
Yeah, that's always tough. I think when you're dealing with these small sample sizes, you have to make sure that you're focusing on all of the information you have. Like, I don't think it would be fair to Jayden to just judge him based off this year. We saw him be an accurate quarterback for 18 weeks last year and into the playoffs last year. So I do lean towards the idea that the disjointed nature of the season is maybe throwing off his rhythm. And he's such a rhythm passer. I think we saw that. That was when he was at his best, is when the ball's coming out quickly. So I'm giving him a bit of a pass, but I do think that some of those throws, some of the inaccurate throws do go back to what I was talking about before, where they weren't just rhythm things. They were throws that we saw him miss last year. And it had to do with the lack of top end arm talent. Again, I'm coming back to it. But judging him and then working around like what's the supporting cast and how it was worse off this year, I think it's very tough. And it's the hardest part about quarterback evaluation. But I think you just have to judge it. Like what I like to do is I like to watch the quarterbacks and I like to pause it right before the ball gets to the catch point. Because we spend so much time judging a quarterback's ability to throw based on what happens at the catch point and what the receiver does with it. And I think that gives you a better method of putting his performance in a vacuum and not letting the outside factors kind of sully your evaluation of him. And I think if you watched him from that perspective, it's easier to ignore how much his production fell off compared to last year. And you really do see largely the same quarterback you saw last year. It's just that the pieces around him aren't allowing him to produce like he did last year. So in a way, it was tougher to evaluate him this year when he's played, but I don't think it meaningfully changes my outlook for him going forward, if that makes sense. The only thing that would is the injury stuff, which is, you have to separate that from the quarterbacking stuff and what he does on the field.
So with the injury stuff with Jayden Daniels, man, it's tricky. He over 5 seasons as a collegiate QB1 was durable. He, during his all-time great rookie NFL season, was durable. But he this season has suffered 3 different injuries. A left knee injury, a right hamstring injury, and a dislocated left elbow. There also are the realities that he is a thin-framed quarterback who runs a lot and takes a lot of contact. Where do you stand on Daniels' durability?
I was more concerned about the injury stuff, honestly, before he was drafted, because you had that thing, like there was that talking point about him where he was like almost like Wile E. Coyote running into the painted on tunnel. Like this guy was willing to put his body on the line. I don't think we saw that during his rookie year. I think he really changed the perception of who he was. And it was hard to hit him. It's like a Lamar Jackson thing where, yeah, the guy's skinny and yeah, he runs around a lot, but good luck squaring him up with a solid shot that will injure him. I mean, you had a freak injury that took him out this year with the elbow. But my one concern with the durability and the body type thing goes back to it. Like I was talking to it was Mike Tannenbaum about Justin Herbert, and he was the only one in media who had Justin Herbert as QB1 in 2020. And I was writing an article about like the pre-draft skepticism of Justin Herbert. So I wanted to talk to Tannenbaum and ask him why. And I thought he was going to give me this like insightful answer about quarterback play and what he saw on tape. And he was like, oh, he's bigger than everyone else. And it's like car insurance. Like when you have a big car, you pay less for car insurance, and you have like a sports car, you have to pay more for it. And then he started explaining why he likes bigger quarterbacks. Cause I thought it was just like dumb GM talk. Like, oh, I like the big 6'4" guy, of course. And he's like, well, when those guys take knocks and they get injured, you don't notice it. And when the small guys get injured, it really builds up. They're like talent sapping hits and injuries on them. And I haven't been able to get that out of my mind since then. And I was thinking back to last year, Justin Herbert played with the high ankle sprain, the same injury that kept JJ McCarthy out for like 2 months. And nobody really noticed it because he's a big, huge guy with a bunch of talent that can overcome that type of thing. And I think my concern with Jayden, and I'm going back to the arm talent thing, is what happens when these injuries start to pile up and his body starts to break down a little bit and his 8.5 arm goes to a 7.5 arm because he's taking all these injuries and he can't, put as much zip on the ball. That's my concern with him. That's my concern with the injury. It's not, oh, is this guy going to be injured every year? It's going to be what type of toll are these injuries going to take on his skill set, which I think as a thrower doesn't present this high ceiling like it does compared to the other guys that were drafted around him.
Much more with Steven Ruiz in moments, but if you enjoy this podcast, check out BGO Blind Pig, the official podcast of BGObsession.com. BGO Blind Pig is great. It is a roundtable discussion of the Washington Commanders. It's like you and a bunch of your buddies who are Commanders fans are hanging out and talking about the team. The conversation is smart and fun and respectful. The latest episode has one of the best titles for any Commanders YouTube video that you'll ever see. Trust me. You can find the BGO Blind Pig podcast on YouTube and on any major podcast provider. Make BGObsession.com the home for your burgundy and gold obsession, and make the BGO Blind Pig podcast part of your Commanders podcast rotation. We're talking with Steven Ruiz. He is an NFL analyst and quarterback ranker for The Ringer. As I said in the intro for this segment, I wanted the Commanders to take Drake Maye. I was a big believer in him. I'm obviously still a big believer in him. He this season is having the kind of season that Jayden Daniels had last season, although Maye has feasted on a weak schedule for the Patriots, but the numbers for Maye for this regular season are tremendous. Drake Maye, for this regular season through Week 11, had the following rankings among qualified NFL quarterbacks. Number 2 in ESPN's total QBR, 73.2. Number 2 in expected points added per play per RBSDM.com, 0.275. Number 2 in yards per pass attempt, 8.86. Number 1 in completion percentage, 71.9. And if you like counting stats, number 1 in passing yards, 2,836. You have Maye as the QB1 in the redraft of the quarterbacks in the 2024 NFL Draft. What stands out to you in studying Maye?
Man, a lot, but it's really just his ability to throw from any platform whatsoever and no matter what's around him. And I think a lot of people made the mistake of questioning his footwork because it didn't look normal. Like it was like, this is not pro footwork and he's missing throws. And I think if you go back and watch that tape from his last year at North Carolina, I think you would realize that one, he was dealing with a terrible offensive line and a terrible offensive situation. And he was throwing like that. And he was making those like jump throws and sidearm throws and back foot throws because he had to. And the impressive thing is that he was able to make them. I can't remember it now, but I remember someone talking about footwork. I think it was Dan Marino. Talking about footwork and talking about back foot throws specifically. And he was bringing up the fact that people see back foot throws as like a red flag. And he was always saying like, I had to make back foot throws because of what was going on around me. So I had to learn how to make them. And I think Drake Maye is one of those players that learned how to throw with bad feet, and people took the wrong lesson from it. And we're like, oh, he has bad feet just normally. And we're seeing this year that no, like if you give him a decent sized pocket, the guy is very, very accurate. And I think he was like leading the league in completion percentage for most of the year. It still might be the case. It's one of the league leaders in completion percentage over expectation, which is based on average depth of target and a bunch of other different factors. He's turned out to be one of the most accurate quarterbacks, and you have never heard anything about his feet this year. Nobody's talking about his footwork. It was all anybody was talking about before the draft and up into his rookie season. So I think with him, it's just that ability to throw from any platform. It reminds me, honestly, of and this is a weird comp, and people that went to Maryland like us won't like it, but it reminds me of JJ Redick shooting the basketball. And I just remember JJ Redick like coming off screens and like no matter like how he caught the ball, his feet were in perfect position to make the throw. And I think Drake Maye has a little bit of that. Like no matter how you pressure him, he's going to give you a quality ball. And there are only like 4 or 5 quarterbacks that you could say that about. I don't know. I don't even think you could say it about Caleb Williams right now. And it's my main concern about Jayden Daniels.
To what extent should the Patriots' soft schedule this season discount the great stats that Drake Maye is putting up?
That's a good question. I think it has to factor in, but when you watch the tape, it's not, you see plays and you're like, oh, that play wouldn't have worked against, I don't know, name a top defense, the Eagles. Oh, I don't think that play would have worked against the Eagles. You don't really see that. It's not like he's throwing to open guys. The thing that stands out and that is impressive about him is the stuff I'm talking about. It's his ability to overcome a bad play by the offensive line, or his wide receivers aren't open initially and he has to get outside of the pocket and buy time and make a throw. He could do all that other little stuff, like the game manager stuff. Like he's going to take the 5-yard out if it's open. He's going to, take the check down if they cover the routes deep. He could do all that stuff, but then he can do the extracurricular stuff. And that's, I think, is where the optimism comes from, is that when you could do both, then you really have something cooking. I think we get caught up in like the support and the quality of opponent discussion with a lot of these quarterbacks when they're putting up big numbers, but usually they're only doing one of 2 things. Like you think about like a guy like Brock Purdy a couple years ago, and I think he has expanded his game in the last couple of years where he can do stuff outside the pocket. But Brock Purdy was just the system guy. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is probably a better example in the same offense where he's not really doing anything outside of it. So I think it is more fair to question how much it has to do with him and how much it has to do with his supporting cast and who he's playing. But with Drake Maye, I just don't see anything on film that suggests that he's like some guy that's taking advantage of playing a soft schedule.
A big topic regarding Jayden Daniels and to a lesser extent Drake Maye going into the 2024 NFL Draft was pressure to sack rate, the percentage of a quarterback's pressured dropbacks that result in sacks. Each guy in college had a high career pressure to sack rate per Pro Football Focus. Daniels, for the 2024 regular season, had a pressure to sack rate per PFF of 22.3. That's high. 20 or above is considered high, but he still had the all-time great rookie season. Maye for this regular season has a pressure to sack rate per PFF of 22.9. That's high, and yet he's having an outstanding season. Are we overvaluing pressure to sack rate?
Yeah, I do. I think with any stat, because I was one of those pressure to sack rate people a couple years ago, and like Anthony Richardson had a great pressure to sack rate, and guess what? How did that work out? It didn't work out well. I had him as QB1 that year, so I'm an idiot for that. But there are no perfect stats in football, and like I think when we use stats to compare these guys, especially like niche stats like that, we are assuming that every quarterback operates in their offense the same way as every other quarterback in the league, which just isn't the case. And I think like if you go back and watch the LSU tape, Jayden Daniels running into sacks, you were never like, oh, well, that's hurting the offense. And the offense is worse off because he's running into him. So that's my discussion with the Drake Maye thing. Like when I watched the Patriots, I looked into the stats, the sack rate specifically this week for a piece I wrote. And what I found was, and Jayden Daniels was right there with him, is Drake Maye takes like the fewest yards on sack. He loses like 3.5 yards per sack. Whereas other guys are up around like 6 or 7. And then Jayden Daniels is really low in that too. And both of those guys rarely attempt passes like compared to the league average once they get outside of the pocket. So these guys aren't necessarily taking sacks in the pocket. And I think that's where the pressure to sack rate becomes alarming, is when you have a guy like Jalen Hurts who's, patting the ball for 4 seconds in the pocket, and he has a great pocket. He ends up taking a sack anyway. That's not happening with these guys. So I think the pressure to sack rate is just a comment on their play style, and it's not a comment on like a shortcoming in their play style. And as long as it's not derailing the offense, I just don't think it's a stat that we should pay too much attention to. I think it can be predictive in some cases, but when you have these alien quarterbacks with these alien traits, like Drake Maye's ability to throw the football, Jayden Daniels' ability to eject out of the pocket, he has the quickest ejector button I've ever seen in the NFL, then I just don't think you have to worry about it too much. You don't get hung up on things that you aren't seeing affecting the game on the field, is what I would say.
Yeah, and a key aspect with Jayden Daniels sacks is that a lot of them are for minimal yardage losses because a lot of the sacks are scramble sacks. Daniels in the 2024 regular season took 47 sacks, but the yardage lost on those sacks was just 238, an average of just 5.06 yards lost per sack. You have Caleb Williams as the QB3 in the redraft of the quarterbacks in the 2024 NFL Draft. He's definitely better this season than he was during his disappointing rookie season, but there still are concerns. You wrote, quote, Williams is already a good quarterback, but there is plenty of room for growth, end quote. Where are we with Williams?
It is a tricky one, but I think a lot of it is based on his pre-draft scouting report, because I think he was billed as like the Mahomes guy, but the skeptics were like, okay, but you could do that against Colorado and Arizona State and whatever other crappy Pac-12 schools you can name, but you can't do that in the NFL. So I think people had the notion that he was going to be this backyard football guy and always want to run around. And he certainly does do that. But I don't think he got enough credit for playing in structure even last year. And I think you saw the growth at the end, but I think you're really seeing it right now under Ben Johnson. But the question mark with him, and it's a huge one, he checks all the other boxes, but it's accuracy, and it's consistent accuracy downfield. He'll spray the ball high. He'll miss throws. He throws too hard at times, I think. So I'm still really, really bullish on him. And I love his skill set. Like I love how he works the pocket. I love how he gets through progressions. I love how he plays in structure. But if you can't make throws reliably and consistently, you can't be a great quarterback in the league. So with him, I'm a little more, I'm still super high and I love his skill set, but I'm a little more skeptical about his long-term ability. Whereas with Drake Maye, who's a similar type of quarterback and does similar things, I know that he can reliably complete passes. I know that Jayden Daniels can do that up to a certain point on the field, like up to 10 yards. With Caleb, it's hard to say with those guys. Like, does he put in the work in the offseason? Does he find like a QB guru that can fix his whatever his hurting his mechanics and leading to those misses. That's the question mark with him. But in terms of quarterback stuff, which has been more questioned than anything with him, like playing and structure, I think he's fine. I think he checks every box you want to see.
The three best quarterback NFL draft classes of the last decade are 2018, 2020, and 2024. 2018 includes Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, and Sam Darnold. 2020 includes Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, Jordan Love, and Tua Tagovailoa. And we've been talking about 2024. Which of those quarterback NFL draft classes will we ultimately look back on as the best?
Yeah, I would say 2018 is the best one for me still. I don't think we've ever seen quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen in this league. And I know they haven't won Super Bowls, and I know it hasn't led to a lot of team success in the postseason, but the way that they've shaped their offenses, where no matter what's around them, it's going to be a top 10 offense as long as they're healthy. Those two of the three best quarterbacks in the league. I don't know, even with Drake Maye, I don't know if that's going to be true. Caleb Williams, I would doubt that it's ever going to be true. Jayden Daniels might have the opportunity to turn into one of those guys just because he's such a special runner and such a special scrambler. But even with him, it's a long shot with like the injuries and the question marks about his throwing ability. So I think when you have two viable annual MVP candidates, it's really tough to compare to any other draft class. And then you throw on the other guys, like Baker's turned out to be a pretty good quarterback. Sam Darnold, solid. So I'll go with 2018. And maybe that's just the fact that we've seen them get to develop and mature into what they've become. And maybe I'll say that about the other draft classes when they get that chance. I will say this, the 2021 draft class definitely wasn't, even though it was billed as being one of the best of all time when it happened.
It's amazing how it is with these guys, and as you know, you can think you know, but then find out that you don't know, a la what has happened with Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold, two guys who've gone from being busts to being really good quarterbacks.
Quarterback evaluation is impossible, and I'm the idiot that made a career out of it.
Well, you're doing great. I very much enjoy reading your work. Stephen Ruiz, NFL analyst and quarterback ranker for The Ringer. Stephen, thanks. All the best.
Thanks for having me. Anytime.
All right. Hey, if you have a case, contact the NACE Law Group, Accident and Injury Lawyers. If you feel that you've been wronged, if you think that you've been wronged but aren't sure, contact the NACE Law Group, Accident and Injury Lawyers, and mention that Al Galdi sent you. You could call 202-902-7611. You could also visit Washington, D.C., injurylawyers.com and submit for a free, no-obligation case review. The NACE Law Group features compassionate lawyers and zealous advocates for its clients, led by the great Chris Nace and founded in 1979. The NACE Law Group is a Washington, D.C.-based family law firm that handles medical malpractice, personal injury, birth injury, legal malpractice, and consumer protection cases, offering aggressive advocacy for victims in Washington, D.C. and West Virginia. The NACE Law Group is outstanding. It will fight for you and your family. The NACE Law Group can help you and your family make difficult decisions. The NACE Law Group has recovered millions of dollars for the sick and injured. If you have a case, contact the NACE Law Group. Call 202-902-7611 or visit Washington, D.C. injurylawyers.com and tell the NACE Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. That's 202-902-7611 or Washington, D.C. injurylawyers.com, and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. The NACE Law Group, Accident and Injury Lawyers. All right, time now to talk college football. Time now for GaldiLocks, my picks for the 7 FBS teams of the Mid-Atlantic region: Maryland, Navy, Virginia Tech, Virginia, James Madison, Old Dominion, and Liberty. You surely have heard of GaldiLocks and the Three Bears. Well, this is GaldiLocks, which helps you, as the great Snoop Dogg once said, make money, money.
Make money, money, make money, money, money.
That's right, Snoop. Make money, money. We have arrived at week 13 of the 2025 college football season. GaldiLocks in week 12 went 4-3. We'll do GaldiLocks in rapid-fire fashion and then have some thoughts on similar situations for Maryland and Virginia Tech and on the opportunity for James Madison to be ranked in the college football playoff rankings. So the betting lines that I'm using are consensus lines per Action Network as of Thursday morning, and the rankings that I'm using ranking or via the season's third college football playoff rankings, which came out this past Tuesday night. No game this week for Navy. The midshipmen have a bye week. The mids improved to 8-2 overall, including 6-1 in the AAC, with a 41-38 win over then number 24 South Florida on Senior Day at Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium in Annapolis, Maryland last Saturday afternoon. Navy's next game is at Memphis this Thursday night, Thanksgiving night, November 27th at 7:30. Also, no game this week for number 19 Virginia. The Cavaliers improved to 9-2 overall, including 6-1 in the ACC, with a 34-17 win at Duke this past Saturday. UVA's next game is its regular season finale, home to Virginia Tech on Saturday, November 29th on Senior Day for the Wahoos. So we have 5 games to pick. Here we go. Maryland, home to number 18 Michigan, Saturday afternoon at 4 on what is Senior Day for the Terrapins. The Terps plus 14. Give me Michigan. If you go by the data on scoresandodds.com, which is a good site, the majority of the bets are on Maryland, but the majority of the money is on Michigan. That is a sign of sharp money on Michigan. So give me Michigan. Virginia Tech, home to number 13 Miami, Saturday at noon on what is Senior Day for the Hokies. The Hokies plus 17.5. Give me Miami. James Madison, home to Washington State, Saturday afternoon at 1 on what is Senior Day for the Dukes. The Dukes minus 13.5. Give me James Madison. Old Dominion at Georgia Southern, Saturday afternoon at 1. The Monarchs minus 12.5. Give me Old Dominion. Liberty at Louisiana Tech, Saturday afternoon at 3. The Flames minus 1.5. Give me Louisiana Tech. So, similar situations for Maryland and Virginia Tech on Saturday. Each team is coming off a recently resolved head coaching situation and is hosting a ranked team on Senior Day. Maryland, home to number 18 Michigan, Saturday afternoon at 4 on what is Senior Day for the Terps. Maryland Director of Athletics Jim Smith, he this past Sunday afternoon announced that he was retaining Mike Locksley as head coach for the 2026 season and that the school planned to significantly increase financial support for the football program. And Virginia Tech, home to number 13 Miami, Saturday at noon on what is Senior Day for the Hokies. Tech this past Monday evening announced having hired James Franklin as head coach. Do Maryland players play hard and inspired for Mike Locksley, knowing that he's coming back as the team's head coach for next season? Do Virginia Tech players play hard for interim head coach Philip Montgomery? Or will Maryland players and or Virginia Tech players be checked out due to each team's head coaching situation already being set in a lost season? Hard to say. Now, Maryland technically still can become bowl eligible, but the Terps would need to upset Michigan and then win their regular season finale, which is at Michigan State on Saturday night, November 29th at 7. Maryland is 4-6 overall, including 1-6 in the Big Ten, has lost 6 consecutive games since a 4-0 start, and, as I have discussed plenty of times, Maryland is 0-37 against ranked Big Ten teams since joining the conference beginning with the 2014 season, and so many of those losses have been blowout losses. Is another such loss coming in this game against Michigan, or maybe, possibly, does Maryland, as a member of the Big Ten, finally beat a ranked Big Ten team? When it comes to James Madison hosting Washington State on Saturday afternoon at 1 on what is Senior Day for the Dukes, know this, history is being made. This for JMU isn't just Senior Day. This is Marvel Superhero Day. The first ever collaboration between a university and Marvel. A very interesting and innovative marketing idea by James Madison. But here we have James Madison. It has won 8 consecutive games, improved to 9-1 overall, including 7-0 in the Sun Belt Conference, with a 58-10 win over Appalachian State at Bridgeforth Stadium in Harrisonburg, Virginia last Saturday. JMU, via this win, and Georgia Southern's 45-40 home win over Coastal Carolina last Saturday evening, clinched the Sun Belt Conference East Division title and thus clinched a spot in the Sun Belt Conference championship game. JMU, off the win over Appalachian State, moved up 3 spots to being the number 21 team in the FBS in the Associated Press Top 25 poll that came out this past Sunday afternoon. But JMU still not ranked in the college football playoff rankings, was not ranked in the CFP rankings that came out this past Tuesday night. During JMU head coach Bob Chesney's press conference this past Monday, had this exchange.
I know you were asked about the fact of this being a non-conference game, and I know strength of schedule has kind of been a hot button topic in terms of not being in the CFP rankings for some of the outsiders. I know you've said you're not necessarily concerned about that right now, but do you view this game as an opportunity to kind of just prove, I don't know, hey,
yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. I mean, it's a formidable opponent that's walking in here, that plays at a very high level. So I think that any time you have a chance, to do that and play against anybody, you want it to be your best. And I don't know that that's like our motivator in any way, but that's certainly, a side effect of this game against a team that we don't share a lot in common with coming across the country.
Yeah, that would be something to have both Virginia and James Madison in the college football playoff rankings. Talkspace is the #1 rated online therapy, bringing you professional support from licensed therapists and psychiatrists who you can access anytime, anywhere. Talkspace makes getting the help that you need easy, accessible, and affordable. One of my favorite things about Talkspace is that affordability. Talkspace therapy and psychiatry are covered by most insurers, and most insured members pay a copay of $0. Also, Talkspace is affordable even out of pocket. Therapy, of course, can be costly, but part of the mission of Talkspace is to provide quality care that is accessible and affordable, whether you are insured or not. And here's a special offer for listeners of the Al Galdi podcast. You get $80 off your first month of Talkspace when you go to Talkspace.com/podcast and enter the promo code SPACE80, that's SPACE80, to match with a licensed therapist today. Go to Talkspace.com/podcast and enter that promo code SPACE80.
If you're a custodial supervisor at a local high school, you know that cleanliness is key. And that the best place to get cleaning supplies is from Grainger. Grainger helps you stay fully stocked on the products you trust, from paper towels and disinfectants to floor scrubbers. Plus, you can rely on Grainger for easy reordering, so you never run out of what you need. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The Washington Capitals are in the midst of a stretch of 4 games in 6 days. The Caps so far during this stretch are 3-0-0 and have scored 15 goals over the last 2 games. Thursday night, an 8-4 win at the Montreal Canadiens. This off a 7-4 win over the Edmonton Oilers at Capital One Arena on Wednesday night. The Caps in the NHL's 2025-2026 regular season now are 11-8-2. And the Great Eight, Alex Ovechkin, officially is on fire. He on Thursday night served as the Caps' top-line right wing and registered the 33rd regular season hat trick of his NHL career and had a primary assist, a 4-point night for Ovechkin in this his age 40 season. He now has 10 goals in this regular season and now has 8 goals and 5 assists over the Caps' last 9 games. So Ovi scored a power play goal 1 minute into the first period, an even strength goal 16:03 into the third period, and an even strength empty net goal 17:56 into the third period. He did commit a first period slashing minor and did have a game worst tying 3 giveaways, but what a performance by Alex Ovechkin. Here was the call of his third goal, John Walton on the Washington Capitals radio network.
Slavkovsky has it at the red line. He's just waiting for Leonard to come off. He does. Here come the Habs and a shot here on Lindgren. And a save as Caulfield got it away. Ovechkin's going to turn. He fires. He got it. It's a hat trick. Oh, my. Alex Ovechkin finishes off a hat trick here in Montreal. How about that? He picked it up in between the dots, right in front of Charlie Lindgren, and slides it the distance, and a few hats making their way onto the ice here at Bell Center.
Yeah, so a hat trick for Alex Ovechkin. He now has 907 career NHL regular season goals, the most in NHL history. Ovechkin's 4 points on Thursday night give him 1,643 career regular season points, passing Joe Sakic for 10th place in NHL history for most career regular season points. Ovechkin knots the 17th regular season road hat trick of his NHL career, tying Marcel Dion for the 3rd most in NHL history. And Ovechkin became the sixth player in NHL history with a regular season hat trick at age 40 or older. Nothing that this guy does is surprising at this point. The Caps on Thursday night won the puck possession battle. They had 36 shots on goal to the Canadiens' 28, and per natural stat trick had 58 5-on-5 shot attempts to the Canadiens' 44, including 13 5-on-5 high-danger shot attempts to the Canadiens' 5. Also, the Caps went 2 for 4 on the power play. A rare good game for the Caps power play this season. Alex Ovechkin, not the only Caps player with 4 points on Thursday night. Caps' fourth-line right wing Ethan Frank had 4 points, 2 goals and 2 assists. He scored 2 second-period goals for his first 2 goals in this regular season. He scored a power play goal 2 minutes into the second period and scored an even-strength goal 3:38 into the second period. He also had 2 primary assists, and Frank was number 1 on the Caps in 5-on-5 shot attempt percentage for the game per natural stat trick at 75. The Caps with Frank on the ice in 5-on-5 situations in the game had 12 shot attempts versus allowing just 4 shot attempts. He did commit a first-period slashing minor. Also, Caps' fourth-line left wing Sonny Milano scored 2 even-strength goals, giving him 3 goals in this regular season, and he was number 2 on the Caps in 5-on-5 shot attempt percentage for the game per natural stat trick at 72.73. The Caps with Milano on the ice in 5-on-5 situations in the game had 8 shot attempts versus allowing just 3 shot attempts. There also was this. Caps top-line center Dylan Strome had 3 assists and went 12-9 on faceoffs. He, during his post-game session with reporters, revealed that his wife, Taylor, had their third daughter, Sutton Kimberly, during the first period of the game. So congrats to them. Quite the Thursday night for Dylan Strome. Here was Caps head coach Spencer Carberry during his post-game session with reporters on Thursday night.
Well, we found out right before puck drop, or I was told what was going on and that he was aware of it. So we were in constant sort of contact, and I know he was able to FaceTime and get an update, and then the game starts, and then I get an update again that she was born mid-game, and that Dylan was aware of it in the middle of the game, and just proud of the guys, the way that they played tonight in the circumstances, back-to-back with the travel.
All right, 2 other Caps players each had at least 2 assists. Fourth-line center Hendrix Lapierre had 2 secondary assists. Defenseman John Carlson had 2 primary assists. The negatives for the Caps in this 8-4 win at the Canadiens on Thursday night had to do with the Caps giving up 4 goals. So the Caps starting goaltender was Charlie Lindgren. He stopped just 24 of the 28 shots on goal that he faced, and the Caps went just a 2 for 3 on the penalty kill. Center Nick Dowd did not play for a second consecutive game due to an upper body injury. The Caps' healthy scratches were defensemen Trevor Van Riemsdyk and Declan Chisholm. Next up for the Caps is a game this weekend, home to the Tampa Bay Lightning, Saturday night at 7. And that'll do it for you and me for now. Keep the feedback coming. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Monday show, episode 1205. We'll have a lot for you on the Washington Commanders. Also on Monday's show, I'll discuss college football, the Washington Capitals, the Washington Wizards, the Washington Nationals, the Baltimore Orioles, and college basketball. Monday's show may be the most comprehensive show that I'll ever do. We in college football on Saturday have games for 5 of the 7 FBS teams of the Mid-Atlantic region: Maryland, Virginia Tech, James Madison, Old Dominion, and Liberty. The Caps have 1 game this weekend, home to the Tampa Bay Lightning, Saturday night at 7. The Wizards have 2 games this weekend at the Toronto Raptors, Friday night at 7:30, and at the Chicago Bulls, Saturday night at 8. We in MLB on Friday have the deadline by which teams must tender contracts to arbitration-eligible players. The Nats have multiple notable non-tender candidates in second baseman Luis Garcia Jr. and starting pitcher Jake Irvin. The O's have a notable non-tender candidate in first baseman Ryan Mountcastle. And college basketball this weekend includes Georgetown home to Wagner, Saturday at noon, and Virginia has 2 games in the 2025 Greenbrier tip-off in West Virginia, a game against Northwestern Friday evening at approximately 5, and a game against Butler Sunday afternoon at 2. Have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you on Monday.
Operation Lose Out. Yeah, we're running it back. Did it once for JD5. Now we're back on track.
If you're a custodial supervisor at a local high school, you know that cleanliness is key, and that the best place to get cleaning supplies is from Grainger. Grainger helps you stay fully stocked on the products you trust, from paper towels and disinfectants to floor scrubbers. Plus, you can rely on Grainger for easy reordering, so you never run out of what you need. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.